Too often we believe that mere belief is enough, that if we follow a religion, repeat prayers, or attend sacred gatherings, we are spiritually safe. But this is an illusion. Without discipline, without self-awareness, without living the truth of ancient wisdom, religion becomes empty words. The ancient masters, the sages, monks, prophets, and enlightened beings all spoke one message: you must live your practice. True spirituality is not in temples, churches, or mosques. It is in your actions, your thoughts, your discipline, your awareness. Wisdom teaches us that the path is within. The greatest danger is to seek externally what must be realized internally. You can wear robes, chant mantras, or bow daily, but if you don't tame your mind, if you don't live with compassion, if you don't master your emotions, you are asleep in ritual. Shi Heng Yi often reminds us, don't mistake the finger for the moon. Religion points to the truth, but it is not the truth itself. You must walk the path. You must train the body, sharpen the mind, and open the heart. This is the ancient wisdom, still alive in the teachings of Shaolin, Zen, Taoism, and all true traditions. Discipline is the foundation, self-mastery is the gateway, and conscious living is the goal. Religion, in its purest form, is a set of guiding principles, a spiritual compass meant to direct it toward higher consciousness and inner peace. But over time, many begin to confuse the form for the essence, the map for the territory, and the tool for the goal itself. It's like owning a beautifully crafted boat but never learning how to row. The boat alone won't carry you across the river. You must still apply effort, direction, and skill to reach the other side. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes that religion should serve the seeker, not enslave them to empty routine. When religious identity becomes more important than inner discipline, it creates division, ego, and illusion. You can repeat sacred verses, attend services, light candles, or fast during certain days. But these external rituals are not substitutes for the deep inner work that true spiritual growth demands. Without self-awareness, without transformation of character, those rituals become shallow performances. Imagine entering a temple with anger, pride, or envy in your heart, and leaving the same way day after day. What has changed? The temple may be sacred, but it cannot change you. Only your conscious choice to confront your flaws, tame your impulses, and embody the teachings can transform your life. Religion is like a mirror. It shows you where you are, but you must do the grooming yourself. Ancient wisdom from various traditions, from Shaolin to Zen to Sufi mysticism, points to the same truth. The outer path is only useful if it awakens the inner path. Scriptures, mantras, and rituals are symbols. They are not the truth themselves. They point to it. Just like a medicine bottle carries the cure, the bottle alone cannot heal you. You must take the medicine. This is why so many deeply religious people still suffer from restlessness, conflict, fear, and ego. Because belief alone does not liberate. Faith without inner transformation is like reading a recipe but never cooking the meal. Religion can inspire you to begin, but it cannot walk the path for you. It can show you where the light is, but you must learn how to walk out of the darkness. Faith, in its essence, is the seed of spiritual growth. It is the belief in something greater, the trust in a path beyond the ego, beyond the material. But without self-discipline, that seed cannot grow. It remains buried in the soil of potential, never sprouting into actual transformation. Shi Heng Yi teaches that it is not what you believe that changes your life. It is how you live, act, and respond daily. Self-discipline is the force that turns intention into reality. It is the ability to stay consistent when inspiration fades. Many people are motivated by sermons, religious texts, or spiritual gatherings, but when they return to their daily routines, they fall back into anger, laziness, indulgence, or fear. This reveals a deep truth: faith without discipline is hollow. It is like a sword with no edge, a lamp with no oil. Discipline is the bridge between belief and embodiment. You may believe in compassion, but if you lack the discipline to pause your anger in a heated moment, that belief is not yet real in your being. You may believe in truth, but if you don't have the discipline to speak honestly when it is uncomfortable, your faith remains theoretical. Only discipline gives faith its living form. It is what sharpens your intentions into action. The ancient Shaolin tradition, like many other wisdom schools, places great importance on daily training. Not just physical training of the body, but mental training through meditation, silence, awareness, and restraint. A monk doesn't become disciplined overnight. It is built through thousands of choices, waking early, observing thoughts, breathing through pain, controlling emotions, honoring silence. Shi Heng Yi often says that discipline is not restriction, it is freedom through structure. When you discipline your thoughts, you are free from mental noise. When you discipline your body, you are free from weakness. When you discipline your emotions, you are free from impulsive suffering. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect. It is the highest form of honoring your faith because it says, I take this path seriously, I am willing to change. Without self-discipline, faith becomes a hope, a dream, a wish whispered into the air. With discipline, faith becomes a force that reshapes your life from the inside out. True spiritual growth is not something you find outside yourself. It is something you uncover within. The outward world, with its temples, churches, scriptures, and teachers, can guide and inspire. But ultimately, no one can walk the path for you. The real journey begins when you turn inward and face the reality of your own mind, your own emotions, and your own inner state. This is where the real battle takes place, not with the world, but with yourself. Shi Heng Yi reminds us often that we live in a time of external obsession. We seek validation from others, chase spiritual approval, and collect knowledge like trophies, yet neglect the only place where real change happens, the inner space of consciousness. You can travel to the most sacred places on earth, speak the holiest of prayers, and read the most profound spiritual texts. But if you never look within, if you never confront your own shadows, you will remain disconnected from your essence. The inward path is not easy. It requires courage. It means sitting with your discomfort, recognizing your own hypocrisy, confronting your fears, and being brutally honest with yourself. It is far easier to engage in outward rituals than to sit silently and observe your restless mind. But the ancient wisdom traditions, from the Shaolin teachings to Buddhist and yogic paths, have always emphasized this. All external practices are meant to awaken the internal state. The ritual is not the goal, the transformation is. This is why meditation is so central in almost every authentic spiritual tradition. When you meditate, you are not doing anything externally impressive. There are no robes, no crowds, no visible success. But inwardly, a war is being fought between awareness and distraction, clarity and confusion, presence and desire. And each moment of awareness, each breath you reclaim, strengthens your spiritual muscles. Walking the inward path also means taking full responsibility for your life. You no longer blame others or circumstances for your suffering. You begin to understand that pain is not just caused by the world, but by your reaction to the world, by the expectations, attachments, and fears stored in your mind. As you turn inward, you start to dismantle these illusions one by one and uncover a deeper sense of freedom. The external path may bring you temporary comfort, praise, or identity, but only the inward path leads to real clarity, real peace, and unshakable inner strength. It is where you meet your true self, not the self others see, but the self that watches, listens, and knows. Belief is where many begin their spiritual journey, but belief alone is not enough. It is right action, consistent, conscious, and aligned with values, that determines the depth of your spiritual integrity. You can believe in love, compassion, truth, or humility, but unless those beliefs are actively expressed through your behavior, they remain dormant ideas with no transformative power. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes that it is not what we say or believe that reveals who we truly are. It is what we do when no one is watching. Anyone can speak of peace, but can you remain calm in conflict? Anyone can preach patience, but can you hold your tongue when provoked? It is easy to adopt spiritual language, but far more difficult to live with spiritual discipline. The ancient wisdom is clear: words are wind, action is substance. This is where many people become trapped. They accumulate spiritual knowledge, attend teachings, memorize verses, and immerse themselves in religious philosophy, but they fail to translate that knowledge into reality. They know what is right, but they do not live it. They may pray for peace in the morning and speak harshly by noon. They may talk about detachment, but cling tightly to ego, anger, or judgment. Knowledge without action is not wisdom. It is spiritual stagnation. Right action, on the other hand, is a form of meditation. It means living in such a way that every step, every word, and every response reflects your highest intention. It means that your inner world and outer behavior are in harmony. You don't just think about compassion. You offer it even when it's inconvenient. You don't just speak of discipline. You practice it, especially when no one is forcing you. This form of action requires constant self-reflection. It means asking yourself, am I acting out of love or fear? Am I being honest or just avoiding discomfort? Am I reacting or responding with awareness? These questions turn your daily life into a dojo, a training ground for spiritual growth. You begin to see that every interaction, every challenge is an opportunity to choose alignment over impulse. Right action is not grand. It is often quiet, humble, and unnoticed. It is found in the way you treat a stranger, the patience you show in traffic, the choice to listen rather than speak, the discipline to follow through on your values even when no one sees. This is where your spirituality becomes real, not in belief, but in embodiment. Shi Heng Yi would say, you don't need to tell the world you're spiritual. Let your presence speak it. Let your life be your teaching. Let your consistency be your prayer. In the end, it is not what you believe that transforms your soul. It is how you act, moment by moment. The mind is your greatest ally, or your most dangerous enemy. It is the place where every thought is born, where emotions are shaped, where decisions take root. And yet, most people allow their minds to run wild, reacting to every impulse, every distraction, and every fear without control. If you want true spiritual growth, you must approach the mind not casually, but with the focus, dedication, and resilience of a warrior. This is one of the most profound teachings echoed in ancient traditions and emphasized by Shi Heng Yi. The warrior does not wait for battle to prepare. He trains daily, sharpening his skills, disciplining his body, mastering his reactions, so that when the storm comes, he does not fall. The same principle applies to the mind. You cannot expect peace, clarity, or strength to arise in moments of difficulty if you have not consistently trained your awareness, focus, and emotional stability. Training the mind means you are not surprised by fear, anger, or anxiety. You are ready for them. You meet them with strength, not surrender. Shi Heng Yi reminds us that mental training is not an abstract idea. It is a daily practice. Just like the body is trained through exercise, the mind is trained through meditation, stillness, breath control, observation, and restraint. These aren't rituals. They are tools for mental refinement. When you sit in silence and witness your thoughts without attachment, you are sharpening your inner blade. When you pause before reacting in anger, you are practicing mastery. When you choose focus over distraction, discipline over comfort, presence over anxiety, you are forging the mind of a warrior. The world today bombards you with notifications, comparisons, expectations, fears. A weak mind is pulled in 100 directions and drowns in this chaos. A trained mind, however, becomes like a mountain, still, grounded, and unmoved by the winds of the outside world. This strength does not come from mere belief, it comes from relentless inner work. Training the mind also means becoming aware of the patterns that control you. These include limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, emotional reactivity, and unconscious habits. Without mental discipline, you are a puppet of your past conditioning. With it, you reclaim the power to choose your responses consciously. You no longer live as a victim of your mind. You become its master. In the ancient Shaolin path, warriors are not only fighters, they are monks. Their strength is balanced by mindfulness, their discipline by wisdom. This balance is the true mark of an awakened being, fierce yet gentle, powerful yet humble, focused yet peaceful. To train the mind like a warrior is to walk this path with full awareness, knowing that every moment of mindfulness is a strike against chaos. Every breath of presence is an act of liberation. Spiritual laziness is one of the most deceptive forms of stagnation. It wears a mask of comfort, peace, and even righteousness, but underneath it lies avoidance, resistance, and denial. Many people believe that merely identifying with a spiritual path, belonging to a religion, quoting sacred texts, or adopting a certain appearance is enough. But ancient wisdom warns us, inaction coded in spiritual language is still inaction. Shi Heng Yi often points out that transformation requires effort. It requires consistency, discipline, and the willingness to go through discomfort. Yet, in today's world, many seek the feeling of spirituality without doing the work. They want enlightenment without stillness, clarity without silence, peace without sacrifice. This is the trap of spiritual laziness, where the ego cleverly hides behind spiritual identity to avoid true inner labor. It shows up in subtle ways when we use phrases like "everything happens for a reason," as a way to avoid taking responsibility for our own mistakes, when we say "just let go," without addressing the emotions we're suppressing, when we attend spiritual events for the atmosphere, but return to the same destructive habits afterward. Spiritual laziness thrives on comfort and avoidance. It resists the sharp edge of discipline, the humility of self-examination, and the honesty of transformation. To grow spiritually, you must be willing to confront yourself. That means acknowledging your weaknesses, accepting your flaws without excuse, and actively working to change your patterns. It means sitting down every day, even when you're tired, distracted, or uninspired, to train the mind, reflect deeply, and act consciously. Growth doesn't happen only in moments of bliss, it happens most in moments of resistance. The teachings of Shaolin, Zen, and other ancient paths are not soft comforts. They are calls to awaken. They urge us to rise beyond mediocrity, to face our mental chaos, to push through emotional heaviness, and to make each day a deliberate step toward inner freedom. Shi Heng Yi says that true practice is not just about finding peace, it's about earning it through effort, awareness, and integrity. Letting go of spiritual laziness means no longer waiting for the perfect moment to begin. It means not depending on others to keep you motivated. It means realizing that the path to enlightenment is walked step by step, and that no one else can walk it for you. Even when the journey feels slow, even when progress is invisible, each act of presence, each breath of discipline is shaping you. You must ask yourself daily, am I moving toward growth, or am I just repeating patterns in a spiritual disguise? Because the danger is not that we fail, but that we settle, that we mistake spiritual comfort for spiritual freedom, and until you let go of that laziness, you'll never uncover the depth, the strength, and the truth that lies within you. At the surface level, religions may appear different names for God, different rituals, different languages, clothing, customs, and traditions. But when you strip away the outer layers, when you go beyond the dogma and doctrines, you begin to realize a powerful truth. All genuine spiritual paths are guiding the human being toward the same core principles: awareness, compassion, discipline, humility, and union with the higher self. Shi Heng Yi speaks to this often. He emphasizes that true wisdom is not bound by any one religion. It transcends name, culture, and belief system. When the Shaolin monks train, they are not serving a religion, they are cultivating a state of being. A state where the mind is clear, the heart is open, and the spirit is aligned with nature and truth. This state exists in the heart of all spiritual traditions. Whether it's through the silence of Zen meditation, the devotion of Sufi whirling, the stillness of Christian contemplation, or the surrender of yogic practice, the goal is always inner transformation. Conflicts arise when people cling too tightly to the outer form and forget the inner essence. When belief becomes more important than behavior, when identity replaces understanding, division is born. One person may recite verses from one holy book, another from a different one, but if both lack kindness, humility, and self-awareness, then what is truly sacred about their lives? The ancient masters understood this. It is not the name you call the divine that matters. It is the degree to which you embody the divine qualities in your own being. True spirituality begins when we move from comparison to connection. It requires the maturity to see that different paths can point to the same mountain peak, that what matters most is not the path you walk, but the sincerity, awareness, and intention with which you walk it. When a person trains their mind to be still, disciplines their body with care, speaks with honesty, and acts with compassion, they are walking a sacred path, regardless of what religion they may or may not follow. This realization dissolves arrogance. It humbles the seeker and opens the heart. You begin to respect the inner journeys of others, not because they believe exactly what you do, but because you recognize the same struggle, the same longing, and the same light in them. You stop arguing over whose temple is correct, and start asking, am I living the truth my heart knows? The essence of all religions is unity, unity with self, with others, with nature, and with the divine. When we forget this, we argue about differences. When we remember this, we embody the teachings, and in that embodiment, we become living bridges between paths, symbols of peace rather than sources of division. The goal is not to win a spiritual argument, but to become a vessel of the eternal wisdom that all paths point toward. So ask yourself, not what religion you follow, but what truth you live. Do your actions reflect awareness? Does your presence bring peace? Is your mind your servant or your master? Because in the end, it is not your prayers, your symbols, or your labels that define your spiritual life. It is your discipline, your intention, and your embodiment of ancient wisdom. The journey is not about being more religious. The journey is about becoming more conscious, awaken from the comfort of belief, step into the challenge of practice, live as if every breath is your teaching and every step is your temple. This is the way of true inner mastery,